let us say about 15 to 20 years earlier to 15 years ago, when I was working in industry, especially in ABB as an electrical power system protection expert, I had seen we were more concerned about the quantity. Electricity was generated, transmitted, and distributed to various users and consumers. So, power quality was never an issue in those days. But in the last 15 years, it is becoming very, very prominent because of several issues, or several things are happening simultaneously in a utility grid. So in this presentation, we will see what are India's energy requirements per se. This is to give this 1.5 hours time will give you a very broader picture of our situation and where we have to go, and as teachers in engineering colleges, how to prepare our students so as our country in particular and the world in general is getting benefited by the knowledge what we gather and gain in this type of programs. We will speak about India's energy requirements. You will be surprised to see some of the facts, and renewable energy sources, which are gaining very prominently. In this 1.5 hours time, or why 1.5 hours time? In the entire FDP program, and maybe in the near future, for the near future, we will talk about variable renewable energy sources. The term has been changed slightly. And what are power quality issues? What are the parameters which decide the power quality, and how the renewable energy sources are integrated into utility grids? This is a very, very recent phenomena. The utility grids so far were very much confined to the public utility services. Earlier, we will see the historical background of that, and now what is happening. We will also see the standards and the statutory requirements given by various agencies for connecting or integrating RES, renewable energy sources, into utility grids, and what is the agenda for the future as declared by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the recent COP26 at Glasgow. The whole thing, the power, or more generally the energy, is based on the famous mass energy equivalence given by Albert Einstein. We are all familiar with E equal to mc square, where E is the energy contained in a substance, m is the mass, and c is the velocity of light, which results in another statement called energy be neither created nor destroyed. This equation is really important because unlike other services, other products, energy cannot be created except maybe by God. Energy can only be transformed from one source to another resource, and the resources are limited within the domain of our world. What are the energy conversions? Energy, be it electrical energy, mechanical energy, chemical, or nuclear. These are the 4 basic forms of energy. They are basically converted into motion and heat, maybe to some extent some other form like electrochemical reactions, but majority of the energy is used for creating a motion. Like as we are all electrical engineers, we know that the motors run the world. So motion, electrical energy is converted into motion energy, and electrical energy is converted into heat. So vice versa, heat can generate electrical energy, motion can generate electrical energy. In the case of a transfer generator, photoelectric cells can generate, a photosynthesis process can generate electrical energy, etc., etc. So basically energy can only be converted. What is India's position as far as the power requirement is concerned in the world today? Many of you will be surprised to see that we are the third largest power generator in the whole world after China and US. Other countries, they always follow us, like countries like Russia, Japan, Germany, Canada, etc. They produce energy or power in a quantity less than India. As on 30/9/2021, the installed power generation capacity in our country is 388.1 gigawatt. Very massive installation. This installation is the third largest in the world. And in 1920, the per capita consumption is only 1208 kilowatt hours. That is 1208 units. On an average, our population of 129 crores, our people consume 1208 units in a year. It is one of the lowest in the world. Now, these two statistics, they give a contrasting picture, isn't it? We are the third largest power producer in the world, but we are the lowest, or one of the lowest in the in a list of about 130 countries. We are in 97th position. The country's growth, for that matter, any country's growth is projected, estimated by its power consumption, because more power is consumed, more things are produced, more services are generated. It is an indication of the prosperity of a country. So when we consume less, it also means that our growth is very, very less or meager. So the successive governments are planning to bridge the gap, to increase the power consumption so that the production in our country improves, so that the quality of living in our country improves. It also indicates that the power consumption will lift the people. There are three basic indices. Number one is the amount of literacy in the country. Number two is the reach of medical benefits in the country. Number three is the energy consumption in the country. These three basic indices, they tell a person how a country is prosperous. When we take India, countries like Sweden and Norway, Singapore, and Switzerland, they top in the list. They are one of the world's leading quality of life countries. So governments are thinking that our government is thinking how to improve the quality of our Indian people. So one indicator is to increase the per capita consumption. Still, many people in our country are not using electric energy in the required manner. So there is a large gap between generation and the consumption. So that is why I call this as we are hungry as far as electricity is generated, used. India's energy mix as on 7/10/21, that is in the last month, a majority of the India's energy for the whole country is produced by thermal power plants. If you look at the blue color figure in the right hand side, you will see 60% of our energy requirement is produced by thermal power stations are okay. And next to that, we have hydroelectric power stations. Third, solar power to the level of 12%. We have wind electric generators to 10%. Biopower, like basically things like methane, ethanol, biodiesel, etc. They are rather even power generated from coal gas plants. They are amount to 3%. Nuclear energy is 2%, and small hydropower. Those who are familiar with the concepts of barrages are those who are living at least in the banks of the river Kaveri. You might have observed the government constructed lot of barrages across the river throughout the length of the river. In river Kaveri, from Mettur till Karur, we have 8 barrage power stations. Each barrage power station producing 20 megawatt. Very, very small power, but it is sufficient to take care of the requirement of a district energy requirements, etc. So when you look at this energy mix, the majority of the power comes from thermal power plant. Thermal power plant meaning power from coal, burning coal, or in general fossil fuels, coal, gas, and the compressed natural gas, fossil fuels. We will see what are the problems, advantages or disadvantages. The compound annual growth rate of production of energy in India by primary sources from 2019 to 2018-19 is basically, if you look at the overall the bar chart, the column chart, we have coal has increased by 3.2%, lignite 3.17%, crude oil, because we have very limited crude oil reserves in our country, so the growth is only 0.15%. Natural gas, of course, in the last decade we used natural gas to a large extent, but then that has also is coming down. And electricity energy, electrical energy, that is energy generation or production by way of electricity, is 6.49%, which has increased compared to last decade. So what is projected is electrical energy consumption is going to, or electrical energy generation is going to increase for the next several decades. As on 30th September this year, the installed generation capacity, fuel-wise, if you consider from each fuel source, if you look at coal, it is 51.9%. Lignite is 1.7%. Lignite is available only from Neyveli, so it is very, very small. Natural gas is 6.4%. Diesel is 0.1%, amounting to 60.2%. The total fossil fuel ratio percentage of share is 60%. Renewable energy sources, including hydro. This is basically mini hydro, 37.9%. Then hydroelectric power generation is 12%. All other renewable energy sources like wind, solar, and other renewable energy sources, whatever they all amount to 26.1%. Nuclear energy is 1.6%. The total non-fossil fuel is 39.8%. So even today, even now, we have almost 2/3 of our energy consumption or energy generation is coming from fossil fuel, which is becoming a very big problem for not only our government or our society, but for the whole world. We will see that in the next few slides. So the governments are planning. In fact, the COP, Conference of Parties, held in the last month in Glasgow, declared that the fossil fuel consumption has to be brought down. In the last few slides, I will show what is our status. Consumption of electricity sector-wise. Who is consuming more, how much power in our country? As on the year 2018-19, industry is consuming about 42%. And domestic consumption is 24%. Agriculture pump sets consumes 18%. Commercial is 8%. Traction, that is used by railways, is 2%. And other miscellaneous items unaccounted for these four are 6%. So industry is a major consumer of electric power in our country. We also have estimated potential of renewable power in India. In fact, what is the potential for India in renewable power? As far as India is concerned, we have the sun god's grace on us in an abundant manner. Solar energy, we have 68% potential. We are yet to tap the entire solar energy. We have 28% wind power potential. We also have hydropower, small hydropower. Out of the remaining 4%, the majority is from small hydropower. Government wants to build more and more small generators, small capacity generators, about 20 megawatt, 15 megawatt, 10 megawatt, etc. Biomass power 39%, cogeneration, that is basically used by industries, and waste to energy. There are plans of converting the municipal waste into energy producing plants. So we have a large potential of solar energy, which is basically a renewable energy source. The estimated potential of renewable power in India state-wise goes like this. Each state has a good potential of producing more power from renewable sources, out of which, as you can see in this pie chart, Maharashtra can produce 10%, and Andhra Pradesh can produce 8%, Gujarat 11%, Jammu Kashmir 10%, etc. These are all basically a mix of all solar and wind power. Rajasthan can produce 15%. That means Rajasthan has a high potential for producing more solar power. You know very well, Rajasthan, the significant part of Rajasthan is basically desert. So by installing solar power plants in Rajasthan, we can convert the solar energy into electrical energy. What are the problems with the conventional power plants, power sources? Thermal power plant. The efficiency of a thermal power station is very, very small, 33% to 48%, number one. Number two is reserves are dwindling. Estimates say that we have coal reserves only for next 20 to 30 years. So there are two issues in thermal power plants. One is coal. The amount of coal available is also reducing. After 20 to 30 years, we don't have coal. Number two, the much bigger issue is production of greenhouse gases. The pollution from thermal power plants are very, very significant. All over the world, people are agitating to reduce this pollution to a very, very small level. What are the problems with the hydel power plant? Hydel power plant, though it is clean, it submerges a very large land area, which creates another type of problem. For example, Stanley Reservoir, that is the Mettur Dam, occupies an area of 153 square kilometer. You can imagine, 153 square kilometer of land mass is being submerged under water. There is a problem from geologists. They say you cannot apply so much pressure on land area. Krishnaraja Sagar occupies 292 square kilometers. These submergence are covering a large area with land, a large area of land with water creates problems like earthquakes. That people realize that only very recently in China, which had the largest dams, 3 dams in the world, the land area submergence created earthquakes, which created lot of losses. Disruption of ecosystems. Forest areas are disturbed. Both the animals living in the forest and the people living in that area are relocated. So, when Mettur Reservoir was Stanley Reservoir is constructed, records say that about 40 villages were submerged in the dam. So the people living in 40 villages have to be relocated elsewhere. They increase platonic pressure, which gives rise to earthquake. In India, almost we constructed dams in all the rivers. So we don't have any more possibilities. What is the problem with the nuclear power plant? We all know that safety is major concern. Nuclear power plants are not at all encouraged in the world. In fact, many countries in Europe, like Germany and France, UK, they are started reducing the power generation from nuclear sources. They started a 30-year plan to dismantle a nuclear power station. In Japan, already it has started, and it is very shocking to know that you cannot just like that switch off a nuclear power plant, dismantle all the machinery and sell it to scrap. We can do that for other power plants. But a nuclear power plant, dismantling and decommissioning a nuclear power plant takes about 40 to 50 years. If we decide to switch off or shut down a nuclear power plant, it will take 50 years, 50 years to completely remove all the nuclear wastes and radiation hazard material and safely handle that area to other purposes. Safety is becoming paramount. So people all over the world, engineers all over the world, they are not looking at nuclear power plant. So the only option is renewable power sources. That is where we are going into. From here, we move on to the next concept of power quality. Quality power supply is defined as a supply within voltage and frequency tolerances with pure sine waveform. In Tamil Nadu electricity supply code says single phase 2-wire 240 volt, 3-phase 4-wire 451 kilovolt and above for industrial requirement, 3-phase 33 kV and above for 5 megawatt demand, etc. So all these things are standardized all over the country, all over the world. Power supply suffers in quality due to the following issues. Power factor, we are all very much familiar because as this power factor issue started the moment we started using alternating current, but then now it has become fairly a simple issue to sort. Voltage swells and sags, that is voltage going up than the rate, voltage dips, sags. Interruptions, power cuts. What we mean by interruption is power cuts. Transients. Transients are small, unnoticed by human eye surges in the power line. Flicker. Flicker we have seen in tube light sometimes flickers. And harmonics. These are all big problems which create both technical and commercial losses to the society. Not only in homes, but also in industries. So these power quality problems are explained here. What is power factor? We know that in inductive and capacitive loads, the angle between voltage and current is not, the phase difference is not zero. So it results in non-unity power factor. It causes power losses. When the power factor is not equal to 1, that means power is wasted as reactive power, which does not do any useful work. Voltage swells are caused by lightning strikes. A lightning happening at 100 kilometers away can create a voltage swell down the line. Voltage sags are because of malfunction and premature failure of electrical equipment. Transients are created by switching heavy loads. Flicker is because of the large fluctuating loads, like there are compressor loads which create flicker. The flicker causes irritation and strain to the user. Harmonics are created by nonlinear rods. The ill effects of harmonics are very many. That requires a separate class, maybe for about a few hours. So, but I would like to say harmonics, they create a lot of problems which are becoming very, very prominent in recent times. In fact, I did research in measurement of harmonics. During that time, I had given consultancy to many industries, where in which we identified the harmonics were very, very severe, which created problems in the systems. The user, either he was not aware or he was aware, but nothing could be done like that. Voltage swells are defined as an increase in voltage than the rated voltage. You can go through the definitions of given by IEEE 1159, which defines what are the basic power quality parameters. Voltage sags are dips in the voltage. For example, when the voltage goes below 100% of the rated voltage, then it is defined as voltage sags. They continue there for several cycles of power. Interruptions are loss of power for few cycles. There are short-term interruptions and long-term interruptions, sustained interruptions. We are very much familiar with these interruptions. Power goes down, everything gets off. We call it a shutdown. So these are all becoming very big problem. See, in homes, this may not be a big issue. For example, when there is a power failure, mains failure for few minutes, at home, we don't feel it at all. Like the fans will be off for few minutes, but we also have a UPS. Most of us have an UPS in the home. So they take over and we don't feel the difference. The light flickers for a second and then light continues. This is not a problem. At homes or even in colleges, we have large UPSs. So in the computer center, even if the mains power fails, the UPS take over. So we don't see any difference. But this is only a small thing. See, a power failure in hospitals can create loss of life. An equipment working with mains power loses power for 1 second, 0.5 second, the patient will die. Power failure in industries can create production loss for 2-3 hours. There are a few industries where sustained power is required. Once the power fails, almost about 10 hours of production is lost. It takes another 10 hours to start the production. So there, interruptions are not at all tolerated. We have transients. Transients create problems. You might have observed this when there is a lightning, when there is a heavy rain, thunderstorm, which is happening in the last 10 to 15 days, and Weather Bureau also announces that it will be there for another 3 days. I request you to switch off all the loads and remove the power socket plugs from the socket, because you might have observed when there is a lightning, lightning in the nearby place, and you know that TV is gone. So equipment fail because of high transients. Transients are momentary bursts of energy induced in power lines. They cause equipment failure. It's okay if it is a TV. That is not even okay for us because TV costs us 50,000, 60,000. But if an ECG equipment fails, if an oxygen analyzer fails, if a CT equipment fails in an hospital because of transients, then you can imagine what is the effect. Voltage fluctuations, which are also called flickers, they create lot of strains to our human eyes. And harmonics are really dangerous. Harmonics are produced by nonlinear loads. Harmonics cause many ill effects such as high current in the neutral of three-phase four-wire system. As electrical engineers, we know that in a three-phase power distribution four-wire system, the three wires are red, yellow, and blue phase wires, and the fourth wire is neutral wire. In a balanced system, the current in the neutral conductor is zero. Maybe if there is a small unbalance in the load distribution, there will be a few amperes of current. So, so far, for the past about 100 years, in a three-phase four-wire system, in industry, people used to say the dimension of the UG cable is called as 3.5 core. That means three wires, three cores are for RYB, and half the size of the core is for neutral. Neutral does not carry any current. It is only for the reference. But if the system, the load has harmonics, the current in the neutral wire can be as high as 2 times that of a phase line wire, phase or line wire, which is very, very surprising. In one of the consultancy works, what we carried out, when we measured the neutral current, it was 2 times that of a phase current. So the cable get punctured. See, three cores, three equal sizes of wires are used for three phases, but only half the size is used for neutral because it is not supposed to carry any current. But if it carries twice the current, twice the amount of current, then you can imagine the I square R loss that creates a lot of heating, the cable get punctured. That is because of harmonics. The non-zero potential difference between neutral and current. Ideally, the potential difference between neutral and current should be zero, but harmonics create a non-zero potential difference. Reduced current carrying capacity of the conductors. That is because of the skin effect. Overloading of the transformers. Transformers get overloaded. Even though the load takes only X amperes of current, harmonics create 2 times X, 3X, etc. Increase in hysteresis losses. The magnetic circuits have more hysteresis loss when the harmonics are significant. Reduced PF. PF gets reduced because of harmonics. And if you install correction capacitors for improving the power factor, they fail because of harmonics. So problems are very many. Inaccurate meter reading. The meter reading, that is electricity meter reading, are inaccurate. Either they show more or they show less. Both are dangerous. Nuisance breaker tripping. Breakers trip without any reason. Malfunctioning of protective relays. Inductive interference into telephone lines. This is one dangerous issue. Of course, today we don't have that much problem as it was 50 years ago, because we have more digital telephone circuits or even optical telephone circuits, but they cause interference, energy losses and higher electricity payment, inefficient distributed system, increased maintenance cost because equipment are they fail or they lose their life. A transformer which is normally rated for 25 years, when there is harmonics in the system, can last only about 10 years. So 10 years it fails. That is a big revenue loss for the system. Why harmonics are created? Because of non-linear loads. So we some of you may be knowing that there are two types of loads, linear loads and non-linear loads. Linear loads are those loads which draw current in the sinusoidal form. Voltage is applied, supply voltage is sinusoidal, current is also sinusoidal. Non-linear loads, the supply voltage is sinusoidal, but current is non-sinusoidal. I'll show you some pictures. These waveforms are very familiar to all of us. As electrical engineers, we know that the first graph is for a resistive load. Both voltage and current are in phase. The second waveforms are for inductive loads where the current lags the voltage. The third one is for capacitive loads where the current leads the voltage. Though they are lagging or leading, the wave shapes are sinusoidal. Both voltage and current are sinusoidal. But in non-linear loads, this you can look at these waveforms, voltage waveforms. The supply voltage waveforms are RYB or sinusoidal. The current waveforms are not at all sinusoidal. This creates a problem in terms of harmonics. We need another one session for explaining why these non-sinusoidal waveforms create harmonics and what are harmonics. But many of you may be already familiar with the phenomena of harmonics, but those who are not, you can just, for the time being, you can just keep it in mind that the non-sinusoidal shape of current creates a big problem. So, from the load point of view, from the generation point of view, we want to move on to the renewable energy sources. Why? Because we don't have coal reserves. In fact, since last year, all over the world, governments are putting the pressure to reduce the power thermal, the fossil fuel thermal power generation by a large extent. So the alternative is renewable energy sources. Renewable energy is defined as energy that is collected from natural resources, which can last for a significant amount of time. Though we know that they don't, even sun has limited life, but that limited life is for several hundred thousands of years, maybe a few millions of years. So we can safely assume that they are available continuously. Recently, there has been growing interest in renewable energy sources. RE has become one of the main sources of energy generation. Most green energy sources depend on natural, uncontrolled resources. This is a major problem. The whole issue of today's FDP is because of this fact. The natural resources are uncontrollable. We can't control the amount of solar radiation falling on a photovoltaic cell. If there is a cloud passes through, the sunlight is affected. So the power generation from a PV polar photovoltaic cell is dropped. Similarly, we can't blow air into the windmills. If there is a heavy rain, the wind stops. So the windmill also stops. Energy generation becomes affected. So these courses are uncontrolled resources. So how do we take care of them? Our requirement is continuous. We want electricity continuously. But these sources cannot guarantee a continuous generation of electricity. That is where the real problem is. So, what are the issues in using renewable energy sources? We have process and technology status. Since 2011, we can say about 10 years back, the usage started increasing. Renewables have accounted for more than half of all capacity additions. After 2011, power plants depending on coal, hydro, nuclear, etc., have been stopped. We don't have any new thermal power plant, etc. So from 2011 onwards, we are concentrating only on renewable power sources. The RE technologies can be grouped into dispatchable energy, that is renewables, which can be power can be extracted as willing according to the demand. Okay, and non-dispatchable. We can't command more energy, electrical energy from that power plant. For example, in summer, we need more power because we know that domestic consumption will increase because of more usage of air conditioners, more usage of fans. So when we require more power in dispatchable energy sources, we can simply increase the generation capacity. We can simply increase the coal boiler. The non-dispatchable energy sources like solar and wind, we cannot ask for more energy than it is coming from the nature. So these two type of power sources are to be considered. Advantages of renewable energy. What are the, we know by this time we are all familiar, renewable energy sources last longer time. Maintenance costs are very, very low. Once you install a solar power plant or a wind electric generator, it's maintenance free. Renewable saves money. We don't spend money on coal, nuclear power, etc. Health and environmental benefits. The fourth parameter is really an issue today. People started saying that by the end of this century, in another 70 years, 80 years time, we will leave the world in dark situation. That means the next generation may not be able to survive because of environmental issues. Lower reliance on foreign energy sources. India, almost 97% of the crude oil is imported. So a lot of foreign money is going. Why India? Many countries, including US, they import oil, they import coal. Coal is produced only by a few countries in the world. Countries like Australia, Indonesia, and Malaysia. They have good coal reserves. So we import from them. So it saves money from them. What are the disadvantages? Disadvantages are higher initial cost. The installation costs are very high. Intermittency. They don't generate power continuously. A solar photovoltaic cell generates electricity only during daytime. That too from 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening. Storage capabilities. We cannot store sunlight. We cannot store the wind. We can store coal. We can store water. So storage capabilities are nil. Geographical limitations. For example, in Tamil Nadu, wind electric generator stations are mostly located in places like Kayathar and Pollachi, that is Udumalpet, and Ramanathapuram districts. But power is required mostly in places like Chennai, Madurai, Tiruchi, Coimbatore. So we require a large transmission setup to carry this power. Geographical limit. There are limitations. The variable renewable energy sources. The modular size helps in putting them together. The modular size of VREA technology is well suited to distributed power generation systems. In the future, we will have more of this, less of concentrated power generation systems. As on, let us consider 10 years ago. Yeah, we can safely say 10 years ago. 10 years ago, Tamil Nadu has only a few numbers of electrical generators. What are they? Metur Dam hydro power project, Metur thermal power project, Neyveli thermal power project, Ennur power generation system. That's all. Only a few. So power was carried from all the to any part of the state from only these 4 or 5 stations. In fact, we have the longest HVDC line in the world from Orissa to Kolar. The longest HVDC, so about 1,800 kilometers. So we can generate power anywhere and transmit power to any other part. At the end of this presentation, the last slide, I will show you a new concept proposed by our Honorable Prime Minister. He says, OSOWOG, OSOWOG, the amount of thinking they have will surprise us. So today we are talking about distributed power generation. That means power is generated by many sources. As on date, every house can generate power by installing solar photovoltaic cell because we have abundant electricity. Electricity board encourages to install solar power panels in the rooftops. It also applies to educational institutions. It also is applicable to industries, large industries. So colleges, schools and colleges can install several, maybe 100 kilowatt, 200 kilowatt power panel on the college buildings. They can generate the required power from these panels. They can also export to the electricity board, the utility grid. So distributed power sources generation will be the norm of the day. But the connection of variable energy sources to the distribution grid requires consideration of power quality issues. When there are only a few power generators, the control of power quality was very much possible. The power coming from Metur thermal power station is highly controlled. We can be assured of the parameters. But when we have distributed power generation, what will we do for controlling various other problems? Behavior under fault conditions. Some of you who teach the power system protection, you know that a major fault created in Erode can shut down the thermal power station at Ennur. Why that shutdown? It is basically to protect the power system. So when there is a fault happening anywhere in the system, the transmission line and the generator has to be protected. Otherwise, we will have a huge equipment loss. So the power system protection has reached an optimal solution with concentrated power generators. But when we have distributed power generations, how do we protect the system under fault conditions? Like if there is a fault happening somewhere in Chennai, how the solar photovoltaic panel in Sangalpat can be protected? It's a big question. Interaction with protection systems. Today, we have the interactive protection systems. For example, the simplest example would be the under frequency, over frequency control happening between states, between grid. Like if there is any frequency issue in Tamil Nadu, Telangana can correct it. If there is a frequency issue in Karnataka, Kerala can correct it because systems are interconnected. Protection systems are interconnected on a national grid. But if we have distributed power generation systems, how do we interact and handle these issues? It's a big question. So the integration of variable energy sources into power grids requires substantial transformations to allow electricity flow from small users or producers. That means you and me can produce energy, electrical energy, and send it to the grid, maybe in few kilowatts an hour. If you are able to produce 5 units of energy or 10 units of energy every day, that is a very small energy for the grid, but however, it can many users, like all of us in this program, like about 40 members can produce 10 units a day. We all combine together 400 units per day. So it flows to the grid and it saves, it is given to a factory, etc. So how to allow the electricity flow from small users to the grid? How to establish intelligent grid and demand management mechanisms? That is the topic of this FDP, where big data and data analytics will help how the grid can be managed in a nice way to improve grid interconnections and at the regional, national level for balancing flexibility, stability, and security of supply. To introduce energy storage capacity to store electricity energy from VRE, how to store solar energy. We are researching. VRE aspects are the typically small size and capacity of VRE generation is suited to distributed power generation, where many small power plants are connected to the distribution network. This reduces the need for centralized power generation and HV transmission lines and cost. But appropriate adoption and control are needed to ensure reliable operation. Because we know that large power generating stations are having very good power system protection equipment. But how to do that for small energy sources is a big question. When we move on to the integration of variable renewable energy sources into grid, it requires allowing for a bidirectional flow of energy. As I am a consumer, I am also a producer. When I install a solar photovoltaic panel on my house rooftop, I can generate electricity. I can send it to the electrical grid, common grid, electricity board's grid. And in the night time, when there is no sunlight, I consume electricity. So I produce electricity, I also consume electricity. We have a bidirectional meter. Now the government itself is coining a word called prosumer, producer, consumer. That will happen for all of us in the next 10 to 15 years. We can produce electricity, we consume electricity. So far, we are only consumers. So, how to ensure bidirectional flow of energy? Establishing an efficient electricity demand and grid management mechanisms aimed at reducing peak loads, improving grid flexibility, responsiveness, and security of supply. How to improve the interconnection of grids at the regional, national, and international level. In fact, when I prepared this slide about for this particular international level, it was a kind of fancy term. But today, our Honorable Prime Minister has called for one sun, one world, one grid. So now itself, we are getting, consumer sitting in E-Road is getting power from West Bengal, Orissa, Maharashtra, etc. Because all the four major grids, southern grid, western grid, northern grid, eastern grid, and southeastern grid, etc., they are all highly interconnected as a single grid in India. No longer I can say that I am getting power from Mettur thermal power station, or I am getting power from Neyveli lignite power station. No. The power right now what I am using may be coming from Orissa. We do not know, because in our country all the grids have been connected together. So the grid has to be flexible, responsive, and it also has to be secure. So grids are connected at regional, national, and international level. How to ensure proper grid stability and control. For example, 3 parameters: frequency, voltage, power balance are to be controlled properly. The presence of a significant share of VRE is going to give lot of issues. Introduction of energy storage capacity. Like other energy forms, electricity could not be stored except in small quantities, maybe few hundred joules, but we require more in the form of storage. How to do that? What are the power quality issues in wind electric generator, solar photovoltaic cell, etc.? Due to non-synchronous variability and uncertainty properties, renewable grid integration faces challenges related with power quality. We may get required power quantity. For example, the sun is bright now on my house. So our photovoltaic cell. I have a 500 watt solar power panel in my home. Those two panels produce some amount of electricity, but do they have the required power quality is a problem. How do I synchronize that? When there is a cloud passing through, suddenly the voltage drops. How to take care of that is a real problem. Power quality phenomena like flicker, fault ride through, voltage dips, swells, low voltage ride through LVRT, and the high voltage ride through HVRT, harmonic resonance, phase imbalance, or low power factor are the major concerns of power utilities. Still, we have a regulator, we have a utility. If I am independently producing power and independently consuming power, then there is no problem, because I am not connected to the grid. But when we are connected to the grid, we have to go by the grid discipline. Power quality issues are rising as renewable energy sources penetration grows. We have more and more. By end of 2030, there are certain declarations by our Honorable Prime Minister, which I will show you. In another 20 to 30 years' time, we want more power from renewable energy sources. So the penetration is very high, impacting power grid stability. Power grid has to be stable. Come what may, whatever happens in one place should not affect this in another place. A lightning strike happening near Mettur should not affect a consumer in another part. So supply security has to be ensured. What are the issues and challenges? Technical issues: cost, reliability and efficiency of grid interface. They are big problems. Grid congestion. We also know that when the grids are weak, we don't get sufficient current. Variability of renewable production. Okay, both wind and solar power is variable. Low power quality. Power quality, all the parameters are very low, poor. Protection issues. Change of short circuit levels, reverse power flow, how to prevent reverse power flow, lack of sustained fault current. This is another problem. Islanding. We know when there is a problem in one sector of a consumer, we have to island that area so that other consumers are not affected. This has to be done at both at the grid level and also at the distribution level. Bidirectional power flow of distribution network. Power can now flow anywhere. You know very well from in 2003, central government enacted an electricity act by which the monopoly of state electricity boards were removed. The act says there can be more than one electricity supplier. Today, in all of India, there is more than one supplier for our energy. The electricity what I am consuming here in my home is not only generated by TANGEDCO. It may be generated by a person in Orissa, a public utility, or it can be even a private utility. So electricity generation can happen anywhere. So the Electricity Act enabled that the generation, transmission, and distribution can be done by more than one person, not necessarily from government. In Tamil Nadu, we have only one transmitter, namely TANGEDCO, but the distribution is by TANGEDCO, but the generation is by TANGEDCO. Is again there are many other generators. In Maharashtra, power is generated both by Maharashtra State Electricity Board and also by Tata Electric Company. That will happen in all the states. In countries like USA, each city has more than 3 generators, 3 distributors, like our mobile phone service provider. If the service of one mobile phone is not good as per my requirement, I can simply change my supplier. If I don't like or if the quality is not sufficient with Vodafone, I can go to Jio. If the quality is not good by Jio, I can go to BSNL, etc. We have a choice. Similarly, the similar choice is given for electricity also. If I don't get good quality electricity from one supplier, I can opt for another supplier. Government has permitted that. That is happening in many states. It will happen in Tamil Nadu also. Maybe in another 20 years time, 20 to 30 years time, we will find that the electricity is generated, distributed, transmitted and distributed by more than one company. So this gives a big distribution network. It also gives a lot of challenges. Localized voltage stability problems. How do we take care of the voltage stability within the part of the city is a big problem. Non-technical issues, lack of technical skilled manpower. This is where, as teachers of engineering college, we can train our students in the upcoming issues. The traditional power system protection has to be changed. We will have more different types of problems in the next 10 to 20 years. Less availability of transmission lines to accommodate RES. Power evacuation is a problem today. 3 years ago, or I can say about 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, our windmills in Tamil Nadu produced more power, but that power could not be taken to places like Chennai or Coimbatore or Madurai because the transmission lines were not sufficient. So this is a problem. We could not evacuate the power which is generated, so the power simply went to waste. RES technologies are excluded from the competition by giving them priority. Okay, this is a highly non-technical issue. Lot of debate is going on whether we have to consider the renewable energy sources on par with conventional energy sources, or you have to give some special treatment. Okay. What are the standards which are governing the integration of VRE into grids? IEEE 1547 series are standards for interconnecting distribution resources with electric power systems, which help utilities to tap surplus electricity from alternative sources. We all can be generators. Every one of us at our home, we can generate electricity and then sell it to electricity board, TANGEDCO, or whatever is your state electricity board is. This standard establishes technical requirements for electric power systems interconnecting with the distributed generators such as fuel cells, photovoltaic cell, micro turbines, reciprocating engines, etc. What is the standard defines? The standard defines distributed generators, DG, distributed resources, DR, electric power systems. So about 10 years back, we had only one power system for the individual state, or even I can say 20 years back. About 10 years back, the 15 years back, the regions got interconnected. So we had a southern electric grid. Today, we have a national grid. So we call it as a total electric power system. Area EPS, an electric power system which is confined to one particular place. Maybe in next 10 years time, Erode will have an Erode EPS, Erode electric power system. Coimbatore will have a Coimbatore electric power system. Things are totally becoming flexible. Local EPS within Erode or within Coimbatore or within Chennai or within Madurai, maybe about 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers square kilometer, you can have a local EPS, local electric power system. An EPS entirely within a single premise or a group of premises. You have a township. You have about 200 houses in a colony. You can have a local EPS. That is happening. Already there are a few places in our country where this local EPS concept has come up. Interconnections, how they are interconnected. Interconnection equipment, how they are the equipment concerned with interconnecting these interconnection systems. These are all very clearly defined. Point of common coupling. This is one term which we have to be very, very aware of. It's a point where the local EPS is connected to the area EPS, etc. Point of DR connection refers to the point where a distributed resource unit is electrically connected to an EPS. These all these terms are explained in this diagram. You have at the bottom, you have load, DR, distributed resource unit, several distributed units, several loads, etc. Connected through the PCC, connected to the area electric power system, goes to the national grid, etc. This diagram shows how the interconnection of all the distributed resource units are connected to the grid, and how the local EPS connected to area EPS, how the area EPS is connected to the national EPS, etc. In 1547, IEEE standard 1547, the scope and purpose is very clearly defined. This standard establishes criteria and requirements for interconnection of distributed energy resources with electric power systems and associated interfaces. When, for a specific case, when we see the power generated from a wind electric generator, how the power varies within a month. You can see the turbine output power in terms of kilowatt. This is basically a 1.2 megawatt wind electric generator. The output power varied so much in 1 month's time. It produced a peak power of about 670, 680 kilowatt, drop to zero, only half of that, only less than that, and keeps varying from time to time. How do we have that as our reliable power source for our grid system? Is a big issue. Variation of photovoltaic output in 1 month's time. Now look at that. In a 30 days time, for almost 12 hours in a day, sun will be available, solar light will be available, it produces energy, but during the night, no energy. Even during the daytime, it is not constant, it is not uniform. It keeps varying because of sun's solar radiation is not constant in a day. The variation of photovoltaic power during sunny day and a cloudy day keeps varying. This is quite obvious, isn't it? And the influence of photovoltaic on voltage level. So when the photovoltaic cell is connected to the grid, how the voltage is affected. Now, if you look at in simple terms, you can go through that in detail later. This is what is expected. The dashed line is expected, but the photovoltaic panel produces voltage like smallest in the morning, then it goes to the peak, and then it goes to the thing, and then depending upon the length of the line, that is the transmission line, it is supposed to be a constant, but it is not constant because of the photovoltaic cell is basically a weak electrical system. So the voltage keeps varying. This is another slide showing the same phenomena. So what are the, I was telling in an earlier slide about the harmonics. What are the current harmonic perturbations? IEEE standard 1547 also defines the limits of current harmonic injection of renewable energy sources at the PCC. This requires a detailed study, but at this time, you please bear in mind that the current harmonics are limited to 5%. The total demand distortion is limited to 5%. For why this is happening is photovoltaic cell produces DC. The grid is basically predominantly AC. The DC produced by photovoltaic cell has to be converted into AC and then injected to the grid. Now, when we convert that, invert DC into AC using power electronic equipment, that produces harmonics. That is where the equation is. If we run a generator, the conventional compound generator, or rather an alternator, to be very specific, you can synchronize, you can control the amount of harmonics. Ideally, there should not be any harmonics, but we can have 0.1%, 0.2%, that can be controlled. But the solid state inverters, power electronic inverters, produce harmonics which are to be limited within 5%. Now, the RMS current in one phase produced by the photovoltaic panel keeps varying like this. Can we say that this is a reliable supply? No. Then how do we get this power? The concept is many sources. For example, the voltage from my home, fluctuation from my home is compensated by fluctuation from your home. On an average, when there are 1,000 homes in one location, each of them producing different quantity of power, put together, the power will be with the expected quantity and quality. This is what is the basic assumption. This is what is going to happen. So, but within one location, you will see that RMS variation to a large extent. Variations in THD, total harmonic distortion during one month. Smaller the THD, better the supply, but it can go as high as 8%. How do we take care of that? Is another issue. Variation of PV power and THD in a day. Now you can see within a day, the parameters vary so much. How do we handle this? Is a big issue. Now that is where things like data analytics and smart grid, the artificial intelligence, they are all coming together so that we can achieve the expected results. So we have to follow the statutory compliances from Central Electricity Authority, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, Tamil Nadu Electricity Regulatory Commission. Each agency gives their own compliance limits. You cannot just like that install a photovoltaic panel and connect to the grid. We have to abide by the norms. TANGEDCO has given norms. So, and now international level norms are also getting into the picture. Why? Because since we are getting into situation like this, a blackout, okay, no power in this area, there is a large tower but no power. Since the conventional energy sources are failing, are dropping in their generation, both intentionally because of the environmental issues, or non-intentionally because of the dwindling supply, we are facing a serious energy crisis. World's energy crisis today. For the past 6 months, especially, for the past 6 months, but in general, since COVID-19 problem came, the world is facing plenty of energy crisis, rooted in the price of gas and struggles to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. The scenario, as far as academicians are concerned, we don't have much problem in our colleges, in our schools, and in our home as far as the power is concerned. We don't see a serious threat, but industry is facing a problem. The US energy prices likely to rise as a result of winter heating. Indian government ramps up coal stock. Some of you may be aware, the coal price has increased 3 times in the last 6 months. That means power from coal will increase 3 times. China has expanded coal production and imports to roll back coal prices. China is importing large amount of coal so that it can come through the energy crisis. China is one of the countries hit by energy crisis. You might have read in newspapers and media. Energy crisis sparks divide in Europe over nuclear power. European countries are now fighting for energy. Some of them want nuclear energy. Some of them say nuclear energy is not safe, so we don't want energy power from nuclear power stations. So the countries in European Union are divided over this issue. China coal futures hit high after 5% energy crisis. Tensions mounts inside governments over bailout for UK energy. All over the world, energy has become a big crisis today. The only way out is to have more and more renewable energy sources installed, consumed. Realizing this, nations, corporates, and individuals have pledged for the usage of renewable energy sources. Many of you might have seen a video link by a little girl from India who has declared, I am not a girl from India, I am a girl from Earth. 15-year-old Vinisha Umashankar has declared in the COP, Conference of Parties in Glasgow.
Sir, audio not available, sir.
Yeah, it is not getting linked.
Sir, it's opening, sir, but audio is not available. Only video is visible.
Okay. There is, I think, something wrong with the connectivity. However, this is available in YouTube. This girl's speech, is my voice audible, Dr.
Yes, sir. Voice is audible, sir.
Yeah, but the audio from the YouTube is not, the video is not coming, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anyway,
Yes, sir.
I request the participants, this video is only for about 4.5 minutes. It's available in YouTube. The sum and substance of this is that this girl from India has declared in Glasgow that all the governments should come forward to reduce the carbon emission by 50% in another 10 years time, totally reduce the carbon emission to zero by 2050, so that the future of the world is saved. Otherwise, she says that there is no scope for future generation. I request all the participants, many of you might have already seen this video. This girl has impressed all the participants at Glasgow. Others can go through the quick video link. So I will stop this video presentation. Nations have pledged, countries have pledged that we will reduce the emission. Corporates like big corporates like Google, etc., which consume power, they have pledged that we will use more and more renewable energy sources. Individuals have pledged. Based on the severe scenario, our Honorable Prime Minister has declared one sun, one world, one grid. Now you can imagine the scenario. There is only one sun for the entire world. So we will have one grid for the entire world. That gives tremendous importance for electrical engineers. So we no longer think of power from Andhra, Orissa to Tamil Nadu, or power from Tamil Nadu to Maharashtra. No. Anywhere in the world, power can be transmitted. So he is talking about one grid. This is basically a green grid initiative. He declares this as GGI, GGI OSOWOG. His declaration has won many people's admiration. Our Prime Minister has called for global solar grid in the COP 26, that is Conference of 26 in Glasgow. So OSOWOG will not only reduce storage needs but also enhance the viability of solar projects. We reduce carbon footprints and energy cost, but also open new and avenues for cooperation. That's what Prime Minister Modi told in the thing. And our country pledged, it took a pledge at a Conference of Parties in 26. We will increase non-fossil energy capacity to 500 gigawatt by 2030, which is a very ambitious program. We will meet 50% of energy requirements from renewable energy sources by 2030 in another 9 years time. Now we are in 2021. So 50% of our country's energy requirement will come from renewable energy sources. That means things will take place in a much fast way. So as engineers, as electrical engineers, as electrical engineering professors in colleges, we have to train our students towards this new domain. Reduce the total projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons by 2030, which is about 9 billion tons today. Reduce the carbon intensity of the economy to less than 45%, which is about 70% today, and achieve net zero carbon by 2070. From 50 years from now, we will reduce all the carbon emission for power generation. This is what India has declared, and it is possible by our cooperation and commitment. So, based on this, I would like to conclude that the renewable energy sources are having a tremendous potential in the near future. The power quality of a sinusoidal voltage with sinusoidal current is our ambition. As electrical engineering professors, we have a great role to not only equip ourselves with the knowledge and the technology for implementing, but also we can train our students for future growth. This is the only growth. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. I thank the organizers for giving an opportunity to share my small concepts here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I thank the coordinator of this program, Dr. Vijay Bhaskar, and Mr. Professor Vinod Kumar for coordinating this event with me closely. And I thank TA College of Technology for giving me this opportunity. And I thank all the audience. Though the challenges are many, both for engineering teachers and also the technical issues, I hope we can come out of these problems, and we have to come out of this problem. Thank you very much. So please tell me, sir, whether I can close the presentation.
Okay, sir. We close the session, sir.
Yeah,
we will meet
thank
in
you very much.
By some
Yeah,
other
thank
place.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Uh, Participants, feedback link is posted in in-call message. Please fill the feedback form. Participants are requested to fill the feedback link. There is any problem with link? So I will again post the link. Please check. Please try to open this link again. It will open now. So again, we will meet in another session by sharp 2 p.m. Thank you all. There is any issue with feedback link, just post it in call message. Thank you for patient listening. We will meet again by 2 p.m.